Hello. The nebulas this year were an amazing, dazzling, staggering blur, and an overall splendid time in which I got a selfie with William Gibson and shared French fries with an astronaut. But there was one sad thing for me, which was that because of some shufflings and mistimings, I didn't get a chance to deliver the speech that I'd prepared. I've been spending some time post-nebulas thinking and reflecting on everything I've learned from the SFWA presidency and all of the valuable things I've discovered as a result of my time in office. Over the next few weeks, I'll publish the blog posts that I've been putting together, one dedicated to each year, and then a final recap with some summations and advice and various things like that. But it seemed a logical thing to kick that series off by sharing that speech. And I didn't want to waste the work I put into it, and because it contains a number of things I wanted to say to the SFWA family at large. I hope this serves. And so, 6 nebulas ago, Stephen Gould approached me. He needed someone who'd be willing to run for vice president the following year, picking up a 1-year term as SFWA made the transition to staggering the terms of vice president and president. He promised me it would be only a 1-year obligation. Insert hollow laugh here. This July 1st will mark a huge transition in my life. After 5 years on the SFWA board, spending 1 year as vice president under Stephen Gould and then 2 two-year terms as president, I have spent more time on the SFWA board than most people do getting their college degree. And that is an odd thought. The general wisdom is that the SFWA presidency eats a book a year. I have definitely found that true, and I suspect a large number of stories got consumed as well. I'm looking forward to becoming actually productive again. But there have been a multitude of compensations, a wealth of friendships, an abundance of moments that delighted my heart or that felt like tremendous victories. There is a tendency to label SFWA governance as toxic, to imply that it destroys the soul and hollows one out. I am pleased to report this is not actually the case, that I have found it on the whole a community that is welcoming and well-intentioned, though not always graceful in expressing it. I stepped down feeling the better for the 5 years in which I have learned and grown. I've been lucky enough to preside over both the first and second all-female president-vice president teams in SFWA history. The first time with MCA Hogarth and myself, the second time Aaron Hartshorn and myself. I had thought that perhaps now handing the presidency over to the excellent Mary Robinette-Coall represented another historic first, only to find this was not so. The first female-to-female SFWA presidency exchange actually took place in 2003, when Sharon Lee handed the reins over to Catherine Acero. I'm taking part in a panel tomorrow called We Have Always Been Here, about women in science fiction, and this underscored that truth. We have indeed always been here, doing much of the work that drives this community. 3 women have been working with me side by side every moment of this remarkable journey, and all 3 remain with SFWA, for which you are all very lucky. I asked them to stand as I mentioned them, and I ask for a round of applause at the end, because without them, I could not have stayed the course. The first is Sarah Pinsker, who agreed to come onto the board at the same time I did, and who has remained a director at large, whose thoughtful, considered presence has contributed enormously to discussions, as well as seeing through multiple projects, including, but not limited to, the Baltimore Book Festival and the mentoring program, and being a consistent voice for marginalized writers. The second is Oz Drummond, who's been part of the financial team first under the amazing Bud Sparhawk, and then under the equally awesome Nathan Lowell, and who has worked to learn more about how a nonprofit 501c3 works than anyone I know. I have seen much of Oz's surroundings during our weekly SFWA video calls, as well as her cats, the wild turkeys, and various backyard deer. I will greatly miss those conversations. The third is Kate Baker, our executive director, with whom I have fought shoulder to shoulder against the forces of chaos, miscommunication, and random bad luck. I cannot say enough about Kate or we would be here forever, but suffice it to say, any team she is on is lucky to have her. Not just love, but mad props to you, Kate, for the amazing job you've done during my 5 years on the board. And finally, thank you to you all, not just the people in this room, but the SFWA members watching or reading from afar. Thank you for your trust, your advice, your support, and your friendship. Thank you for the many times you reached out to tell me I was doing a good job. And thank you to the ones who weren't afraid to call me on it when you thought I wasn't. I have tried to validate your trust, and like you, to be welcoming and well-intentioned, though not always graceful in expressing it. I hope these inadequate words meet with your approval, and congratulations to Mary Robinette again, with many thanks for being willing to run for office. Here the speech would end, and then we would all go drink and listen to the alternate universe acceptance speeches, which is perhaps where this speech should have been delivered. As I said, in coming weeks, I'm going to be doing posts recapping some of the highs, some of the lows, drawing back the curtain at times, not in any way that will disclose anything too salacious, but hopefully interesting. And as I'm composing these, I'm asking you for a favor. If there is some SFWA moment, whether you remember or not, that has been particularly meaningful for you in the past 5 years, I'd love to hear about it. Please let me know. I'd also really like to know if there's a SFWA volunteer or volunteers that have helped make your experience with SFWA positive. This is your chance to give them a shout out. Drop me an email about it. So that's it. Thank you. So long. Thanks for all the fish. Actually, you've got me for a few more weeks, but soon. All right. Take care.